Ah, the Radtel RT-490. Finally a Chinese radio without a strange sounding name like Baofeng, Wuxing, Osheng, Puxing or something similar to that. Well, it makes a change anyway. Radtel does sound fairly normal, but there is nothing normal about this particular radio from China. I bought this one from AliExpress about 6 months ago and paid around $80 for this one, including shipping. That came with a programming cable. Now, unfortunately, in the last few weeks, the prices seem to have gone up quite significantly, and the cheapest price I could find a Radtel for was about $110. Even so, it still represents great value for money, and I'm going to show you why I think this radio is better than other Chinese transceivers for the money. It is also available under a different name of Socotran, which seems to be a little bit cheaper, and as far as I can gather, it is the same radio, so you might want to investigate that. If I find out any more about it, I'll leave some links in the description of the video too. So here you are, Radtel RT-490. What's so good about it, I hear you ask? Well, it's got a colour screen, dual VFOs, but it does cover a hell of a frequency range, not only on transmit but on receive as well, so it could even be used as a makeshift kind of scanner. It has 250 memories and it's easy to program out of the box, which I'll show you in a few minutes time. Frequency coverage on transmit is 136 to 176, 200 to 260 MHz, 350 to 390 MHz, which is an unusual band. I think it's something to do with Chinese PMR, and it also transmits up in 70 SEMS and PMR 446 on 400 to 520 MHz. If that wasn't enough, the radio also covers AM Airband, which is the usual 108 to 136 MHz coverage, but sadly no 8.33 kHz steps. Saying that, we're not going to complain for the money. Oh, and did I mention it also has a wideband FM receiver, so if there's nothing else on, you can listen to your favourite radio stations on the standard FM band right the way across the world. Now, this radio is also very good for another reason. It has GPS built in, and it also has Bluetooth. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth in a few minutes, but let's take a look around the transceiver first. As you can see, it's a fairly chunky affair. It has some side button controls there along with the PTT, a substantial belt clip on the rear of the radio, and also it has a standard type of Kenwood speakerphone jack socket there. However, I did try programming the radio using a standard Kenwood cable and it wouldn't work at all, so I had to use the provided Radtel RT-490 cable that I got shipped with this particular transceiver. It may be worth paying the extra few dollars for that at the time of purchase, because you may have trouble using other types of cables. It's basically just a USB cable that looks like this. Pretty similar to the things that you get with CRT, microns and similar kind of transceivers, but this one is custom made for the Radtel, so it might be worth picking one of those up at the same time. Now, looking at the top of the radio, we have got a proper Vfo channel change and also a traditional volume control knob. These are both welcome additions because many of the cheaper Chinese radios don't offer this feature and you have to go into fiddly menus to make changes to these items. You can also increment the channel using the keypad on the front of the radio, but it's much easier with the Vfo knob on top. I did notice when changing channels sometimes that this one jumps a little bit, but it could be just my production model. Inside the menu system, it's quite comprehensive. There is many options you can set from the front keypad, and the voice synthesis on this particular radio is quite good. It's a little bit different from the Baofeng transceivers in that the voice does sound nice and clear and not too irritating. Have a listen to this as we go through some of the channel numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
As you can see, the voice is nice and clear. If you don't like it, you can turn it on off in the menu. And speaking of the menu, it's quite comprehensive. All you do is press this key down in the corner here,
Menu.
and you can go through every aspect of the radio, and the usual functions are all there like other transceivers. So we're not going to go for every single one of them, but you can see there is up to 50 menu items on there. And you can turn the beep on and off as well if that's annoying you too. Every aspect of the radio is actually programmable from the keypad and the menu, so you don't need any programming software to do that. It does offer things like voice encryption, channel naming, which actually supports surprisingly long channel names, and there are some presets to help you get going as well. CTCSS and DCS settings are there. Low and high power in this menu, although in the software, rather curiously, there is a mid power setting too, but that doesn't seem to work when I've tried to program it. Battery saving modes, power on off, timeout timers, everything else you can imagine, including Vox, encryption, and a whole load of other things in there as well. Now, although this looks pretty standard on face value, there are some really cool things about this radio, and one of them is that it is Bluetooth programmable. So in addition to the standard PC lead and software, you can actually use an Android mobile phone with an APK that's available from Radtel's website. I'm going to show you a little bit of how that would actually be done, and it's so easy without using any sort of cable at all. All you need to do is pair your phone up with the Bluetooth on this particular transceiver. Let me demonstrate. So once you've got your Android APK installed, I've got my phone here. All you have to do is install the Super Walkie-Talkie software. I know it's a crazy name, isn't it? Just Super Walkie-Talkie, but that's what the APK is called. So that's it. There's the icon for it there. What we're going to do is we're going to launch this, and we're going to see how this connects up to the radio. Now, one thing to remember is that you've got to go into menu option 50 on this particular radio and switch on the Bluetooth. And there you go, Bluetooth. So we're going to click on that one, select on, make sure it's enabled. Then we get the little Bluetooth icon on the screen up there. If you are using the GPS function, it will disable that at the time. You can't have Bluetooth and GPS turned on. You've got to have it on just for one at a time. So what we'll do is pop the radio down on the table there so you guys can see it while I do this. And hopefully you can see my phone screen. So we're going to fire up Super Talkie, and then we're going to connect up. So you can see it says BLE is disconnect, which is very good English there at the top of the screen, but we're going to hit connect on that one. And hopefully in a second we're going to see if this comes up. There we go. So it comes up with the list walkie-talkie, and it's got the MAC address of the walkie-talkie on there. I'm going to click on that, connect success, which is always a good sign, and there we go. It's ready to actually program. But what we want to do is read the existing memory contents back from this transceiver. So we're just going to hit read. You'll see that on the screen of the radio on the Radtel, it's come up program and the light's flashing. So it's reading across now. It doesn't take too long actually, but I've only got a few memories programmed in this particular radio. I tried it on the PC version of the software and it seemed about the same speed. So to be honest, going over Bluetooth doesn't slow it down. And it's so much more convenient really than having to get out the PC cable, take the side off the radio and plug the connector in and everything. Obviously it depends if you've got an Android mobile device. If you're on iOS you can't do this. There's no app for iOS as far as I'm aware anyway. So there you go. So as you can see on the screen, it's loaded up. I can see my channels. It's simple to actually navigate through. You just tap on the current channel you want to edit. So say for example we want to go to PMR 8, and you can see there PMR 446 channel 8. You can tap and change its name and everything from there. You can set the TX and RX frequencies, and at the bottom of the screen you've got global selection and read and write. Now obviously write will write everything in the memory contents back to the radio, which you'll see in a minute. And we've also got global selection. Global selection is where you can specify certain optional variables for the radio, such as timeout, timer and everything else. Let's have a look in optional. There you go, squelch level, power saving, everything in the menu basically, but more accessible at your fingertips on the Android mobile device. So to me this makes worth having the radio because it's so much better in terms of the usability. It's easier than navigating through tons of complex menus and everything. And as you can see, it's quite comprehensive. There's a lot of stuff in there. You can set everything from how your VFO works, busy channel lockout, channel IDs, everything, you name it, it's all in there, which is quite comprehensive, just the same as the PC software. So anyway, we'll show you how to actually create a new channel in this. Let's just go up to 17, because I've got nothing programmed into 17 right now. I'm going to program in one of the local amateur radio repeaters on 2 meter band. So I'm going to tap on channel name and type in GB3HS. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tap onto the RX frequency, that's the repeater's output, 145.650. And in the TX frequency, because we can't put the repeater shift in, we have to put the direct frequency in, so we put 145.025, that's the input for the repeater. And as you can see there, it's come up with a log of changes underneath, so that's all done. But what we need to do now is tap on global selection, because we want to add a CTCSS code to that. So we just go into channel, and as you can see TX, we want to add one for the transmit, so we can open the repeater. I think it's 88.5, doing this off the top of my head. OK that, and once you've done it, you just go back out the menu. You have to use the back arrow or it doesn't exit, which is a bit of an anomaly in the software. So there you go. So you've got a list of summary of changes. It's going to change the CTCSS code to 88.5. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to do inside channel is change it to narrowband modulation. So that's something else that we really ought to do. for the repeater. And we're going to now write back the entire contents to the radio. So we're going to hit write on the software. And as you can see, it's still connected. The light's gone green this time, because it's writing the data back. So it's writing all the config details, including all the other channels. And I'll show you in a second once that's done. It's easy enough to save that in the Android software, which is really cool. So to me, this makes having the radio worthwhile. It's quite comprehensive, and it's so much easier than trying to program it any other way through the keypad and everything. So there you go. In a second, we should see the radio restart. There you go.
Welcome. Channel mode.
And there you have it. So what we need to do now is just check that it's written that data back.
15, 16, 17.
There you go. Channel 17 GB3HS. And it's actually got the repeater shift in there. And it's also on high power narrowband modulation, so that's ready to transmit on there. So as you can see, that was easy enough to set up inside the software. Now, one last thing that I wanted to show you is simply how we actually save the software, save the config, should I say. All we do is tap in the little corner in the top right hand side of the screen, and we can just create a new one. It says add case, which is named for save as basically in this one, and we'll call it ham, or whatever you want to call it. So we just click OK, and that config's there, so I can now reload that and write it back to the radio anytime I want. So that's really comprehensive. I really like that idea on this particular radio. Now, another thing I wanted to speak briefly about on the Radtel is the GPS functionality. As you've spotted on the box, it does say GPS on there. Now, this may only be of limited interest to people because it doesn't really support any functions that would be useful for amateur radio as far as I can see, because it isn't APRS or anything similar to that. But what the Radtel can do is transmit its GPS coordinates to a similar unit. There are a few Chinese radios out there that can do similar things, so I'd imagine they can interchange data between them. I'm not exactly sure of what format it's actually transmitting in, but what you can do is access it by doing this. So make sure GPS is turned on in the menu. As you can see, it says GPS at the top of the screen there. And if we just go across, we can actually see there's something that says My Place, and that's got the GPS lock on it. And notice in the bottom corner it's green, which means it's acquired satellites. Now, I'm inside in this workshop, just in the garage here, but I did take the radio outside briefly to get it a lock onto the satellites, and it seems to have done the trick. Now, if we go forwards again on this menu, we can actually see my position on there, which I've obscured for security, but you can get some idea of what it's actually showing you on the screen there. Now, GPS coordinates locked on green. When we actually have this on, it means that if I press the PTT button, it will transmit the coordinates before I can start speaking. So to test this theory out, we have another radio tuned to PMR 8. So hopefully you'll be able to hear it come through as a data burst on the radio. So if I press the PTT now, there you go, you heard it just then. Let's do it again. So that sends the coordinate details to the other transceiver. And if you had another one of these same radios, it should be able to send one back. I'm not really sure what appears on this particular screen. I'm assuming that it just shows that there's a lock on it there. But you do see this come up on this side. So that's kind of interesting. It's one of those features that may or may not be of interest to some people, but I thought I'd just touch on it anyway. And as I said earlier on, if you've got the Bluetooth turned on, you cannot use GPS anyway. It's just one or the other. You can't have both switched on at the same time. Now, one of the nice bonus features of the Radtel RT-490 is its ability to receive the AM aircraft band. Just simply go to one of the VFOs, key in an airband frequency, and the radio automatically switches to AM mode. Nice and straightforward, and the stock antenna seems to receive airband pretty well. So, as a wideband scanner, this radio also ticks a few boxes, and is ideal for passing the time of day when there's nothing else to monitor on the bands. Now, one thing we haven't talked about so far is the battery life on this transceiver. Like I said earlier on in the video, I've been using this for the past few months, so I've got some idea of how well it actually performs. It's powered by a 2000 mAh lithium battery cell, and while this isn't the biggest on the market, it does seem to last quite a long time. I'm impressed with the battery life I've been getting from this transceiver, even running it in high power mode for extended lengths of time. I've never had it run flat on me yet, which is a plus point. It does come with a standard drop-in charger, which is pretty much standard for all Chinese radios these days. Red light for charge, green light for full, but it does take around 5 hours to charge up, which seems to be quite a long time. Saying that, you don't mind because the battery lasts for so long in use, so I'm happy with that overall. So now it's time to actually see this radio in action. I was lucky enough to go out for a walk the other day up to one of our local high points, and we had some tropospheric ducting occurring up on the PMR 446 band. So I did some PMR 446DX, and we got some surprising contacts along the east coast of the UK. In fact, some incredible distances that I would not normally achieve on a handheld of this class, and in fact any sort of radio under normal band conditions. It was kind of misty, and the conditions just seemed to be quite right. There must have been high pressure out there. Like I say, tropo ducting can produce some remarkable results. Anyway, check out some of this footage of me talking to some stations out there. The band was absolutely buzzing. Check it out. I know, it's incredible. I don't know how we're managing this, but I'm just on a 5-watt handheld called the Radtel RT-490, yeah?
Flamborough Head, is that?
Yeah, roger. Near Flamborough Head in East Yorkshire, if you look it up on the map there.
Still asking if he's off the CB. Somebody's asking here, are you off the CB, Simon?
Yeah, I do use CB in 11 metres sometimes. I go by the call 26 Tango Mike 001, yeah, go ahead.
This is the Tango Mike 001 BD, yeah?
Yeah, roger, roger, that's it on 11 metres. That's my call on there, yeah. You might have spoke with me before, I don't know, to be honest.
Probably have, mate. I've been on 11 metres for a lot of years. Someone was asking this way anyway.
Yeah, roger. I can hear so many stations on here at the moment, it's unbelievable. There's a station down at Cleethorpes as well. I guess you'll be able to get in touch with him too, because they're all coming through to me, yeah?
1 minute, Simon. Who was that? Can you ask him? I'm struggling with him a little bit now, Stuart. Rallyman knows you anyway. Do you know Rallyman?
Don't know the handle at the moment. Got a call sign on that one.
Ken's struggling with you now, Simon. You're still blowing the windows out. Yeah, he can't remember the name there, Ken.
Yeah. Well, this is incredible. I can't believe I'm doing this just on a little handheld up here. There's definitely a lift on tonight, though, on this frequency, so that's amazing. So I think you've got a couple of other stations in Hull as well there. You've got Sam in Hull, and you've also got Andy. I don't know if you can hear those two.
Station, Hull, come on. Yeah, is that Ken? This is Stuart, but Ken's here. Ken is... Yeah, do you know what, right, Stuart? Has Ken changed anything from this morning? Because when I come on this morning, I don't know if you remember, I said he was giving me 7 bars. Now he's barely breaking the noise. Yeah, he is here, but he can't hear you at all, I'm afraid. Who is it, Stuart? We're talking to this morning, Ken. Is that Andy in Hull? Andy in Hull. Okay, yeah, brilliant. Yes, the mobile portable station, Dane's Day. I'm going to cut you all loose now. Brilliant hearing from you again, Simon. We have spoke before, I remember. Great hearing you again, mate, and hopefully hear you again soon. And you, Andy, there at Hull. And I'll speak to you later, Ken. Have a good one, everyone. And you, BD, sorry. Stay on, man.
Yeah, thanks very much for the call anyway. I'll just try and cut in there with you guys. And Mary, thanks for the radio report. It's incredible. Mansfield from this distance. That is unbelievable.
Cracking out, Simon. Simon, I'm going to take standby, mate.
Yeah, no worries then. Thanks, Andy. But it's your channel anyway, because you were on there with Sam and I've just interrupted. But I just wanted to come on and tell you that the radio that Sam's talking about, the Anytone 578 UV, is 50 watts output on all bands, yeah? So you will do 50 watts up on PMR as well, yeah?
Yeah, I might have to have a look on that on eBay, see what the price goes up to.
So there you have it. You've seen the Radtel RT-490 in action. My conclusions on this radio, it's pretty awesome value for money. It's got a great feature set. You've got the AM Airband receive, you've got the Bluetooth functionality and all those other things that make this a little bit above and beyond the standard Baofeng transceiver. And the audio quality has been highly rated by most people I've heard on air. And in fact, some people have been telling me that this sounds very much like a Yaesu transceiver. So I'm very happy with that result. I've enjoyed using it. The receiver seems quite sensitive. It's a comprehensive feature set. Like I said, the Bluetooth is absolutely awesome on this thing. I've used the PC programming software as well, which isn't too bad as well. So you've got two ways of doing this. And one final bonus feature I want to show you before I wrap this one up for today is that it's got something a bit like Uniden's close call built inside it. Now what you can do is extract RF from a nearby transceiver and it comes up on the display to show you the frequency in use. Let me just explain to you. On the side you've got one of the programmable keys there. Just hold that down for a few seconds and it goes into this seek mode. Very, very easy to use this is as well. All we have to do is bring another transceiver in close proximity. This one's set to PMR 446 channel 8. We just transmit on the radio. And there you go. It should grab that in a second. There you go. 446.0935, which is near enough to PMR 446 frequency. So if you weren't sure what frequency the transceiver was transmitting on nearby, you can just grab it on here and confirm it on there. So it's a useful diagnostic tool as well, that is. It can be used for VHF, UHF, and also I think it comes up with 200 megahertz. There you go, 200 megs, and also 350 there as well. So yeah, nice little bonus feature built in the radio. Didn't know about that one, but there again, the instructions that come with this particular radio aren't very comprehensive, so you've got to find out some of these things yourself sometimes, as is the case with most Chinese transceivers. But yeah, on the whole, Radtel RT-490, I would give it 8 out of 10 for value for money and everything else and feature set. It is quite chunky, like I say, but it does seem quite well built. I've been using this for 6 months without any sort of issues at all. Everything just works. So yeah, I would definitely buy one of these again if it broke. And yeah, why not? It's great value for money. Okay, that about wraps it up for this review. Hope you've enjoyed looking at the Radtel. If you've got any comments, leave them below and we'll try and answer as many as possible. And also we'll drop some links in there of where you can actually buy this transceiver from. And it is also available under a different brand name called Socotran, I think it is, or something similar to that. But we'll check that out and I'll put some links in the description too for the video. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.